Let me tell you something that can shift the trajectory of your entire life if you're willing to embrace it. 1 hour a day is enough to change everything. Not because the hour itself is magical, but because of who you become when you decide to invest that hour with purpose, focus, and intention. The problem is never the lack of time. It's the lack of direction. You can spend 12 hours scrolling, drifting, reacting, letting life happen to you, or you can choose 60 minutes where you take command of your own future. When you commit to 1 hour a day, you start seeing the principle of compounding show up in your life. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. A tree doesn't bear fruit in a week. But if you water that seed, if you nurture it, if you give it sunlight and good soil every day, growth is guaranteed. That 1 hour is your watering time. It's your sunlight, it's your soil. And every time you show up, you're building roots. Most people want branches without roots. They want results without discipline. They want transformation without consistency. But the ones who change their lives forever decide to build something from the inside out. And here's the truth most people don't want to confront. Motivation will not save you. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the engine. Motivation feels good, but discipline produces good. You won't always feel like learning, growing, praying, reading, building, or practicing. And that's okay. You're not called to be driven by feelings. You're called to be driven by purpose. When you show up on the days you don't feel like it, that hour becomes sacred. That hour becomes proof. Proof that you are more committed to your destiny than your comfort. One intentional hour will always outperform a full day of scattered attention. Most people stay busy, not productive. They are constantly moving but going nowhere. When you take one focused hour, you silence distractions, you shut down noise, and you give your mind permission to operate at a higher level. That hour becomes a laboratory where you experiment, create, learn, and sharpen. That hour becomes the difference between average and extraordinary. Success is never owned. It is rented, and the rent is due daily in that 1 hour. And the beauty of devoting yourself to that hour is that it begins to reshape your identity. You start to see yourself differently. You say, I am the kind of person who grows every day. I am the kind of person who invests in myself. I am the kind of person who builds my future instead of waiting for it. It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is that you start. Because the moment you start, you change the story you tell yourself. 1 hour a day doesn't just build skills. It builds belief. Then something powerful happens. Momentum. The most dangerous force in the world is momentum. Momentum makes it easier to keep going than to quit. Momentum turns habits into hunger. Momentum turns minutes into miracles. 1 day becomes 3, 3 becomes 10, 10 becomes 30. Before you know it, what you once saw as just an hour becomes a movement inside your own soul. And that movement pushes you toward breakthroughs you once thought were impossible. And as you show up, you build consistency. And consistency breeds confidence, not fake confidence, not social media confidence, real confidence, confidence rooted in evidence, confidence that comes from showing up for yourself every single day. And when that confidence rises, so do your opportunities. Confidence attracts possibility. Confidence opens doors. Confidence tells the world, I am ready. So here's the message. Your life will not change in a day, but your day can change your life. Give yourself that hour. Guard it like treasure. Devote it like worship. Focus on it like your future depends on it, because it does. 1 hour a day can rewrite your story. 1 hour a day can build your dreams. 1 hour a day can transform your mind, your habits, your skills, your spirit, and your destiny. Your future is waiting for that hour. Your purpose is waiting for that hour. Your greatness is waiting for that hour. And if you're willing to pay that price daily, your life will never look the same again. Small, consistent inputs are the hidden engines behind every success story you admire. People often look at massive achievements and think they were created in one explosive moment, but that's never the truth. Real transformation happens quietly, gradually, and almost invisibly. It's the daily deposits, those small actions repeated over time, that build the kind of results that make people call you lucky. But luck is nothing more than long-term consistency finally becoming visible. When you commit to one simple, focused action every single day, you're engaging in the law of compounding. Think about it. You read 10 pages a day, and in a year, you've read more than a dozen books. You practice a skill for 30 minutes a day, and in a year, you're operating at a level most people will never reach because they never kept going long enough to see growth. You invest a small amount regularly, and eventually the interest starts earning interest. It works the same with your mind, your relationships, your business, your spiritual life. Every part of your existence responds to consistent input. What makes this principle so powerful is that small actions are sustainable. You don't burn out trying to overhaul your entire life in 1 week. You don't depend on unpredictable bursts of inspiration. You simply make a decision. Every day, I will take one step. And when you take that step over and over, momentum starts working in your favor. Each day becomes easier than the last because you're stacking wins. And those small wins shift your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wishes, and you start seeing yourself as someone who builds. Over time, the small inputs you made yesterday begin to pay you dividends today. You don't see it at first. In the early days, it feels like nothing is changing, but just like planting a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You trust the process. You keep watering, you keep nurturing. And then one day, what you've been investing in breaks through the surface. People see the result, but they don't see the years you spent sowing the seed. That's why small, consistent inputs matter. They turn time into an ally instead of an enemy. They allow you to build without pressure, without panic, without perfection. And if you honor that process, those tiny daily decisions will produce outcomes so massive that even you will be amazed by what your commitment created. Discipline is the silent force that carries you through every season of your life, long after motivation has faded. Motivation feels amazing. It's a spark, a surge, a rush of energy that makes everything feel possible. But motivation is emotional, and emotions change. Motivation is seasonal, and seasons shift. If you depend on motivation alone, you'll start strong but quit quickly. You'll make promises when you feel inspired, but you won't keep them when you feel tired. That's why discipline is greater. It doesn't ask you to feel ready. It asks you to show up. Discipline is commitment in motion. It's the decision to do what matters even when you don't want to. It's waking up early when your head says sleep. It's studying when your mind says later. It's practicing when your body says rest. It's saying no to distractions when your ego wants comfort. Discipline doesn't care about your emotions. Discipline cares about your future. When you choose discipline, you tell your future self, I value you more than my temporary feelings right now. And strangely, the more disciplined you become, the less you need motivation, because discipline creates its own rhythm. When you keep showing up, it becomes natural. It stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling like a lifestyle. Discipline rewires your habits. It reshapes your identity. It transforms your self-image. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, someone who keeps promises to themselves, someone who doesn't quit just because the road gets uncomfortable. Discipline also frees you. Most people think discipline is restrictive, but it's actually the opposite. Discipline gives you control over your time, your habits, and your destiny. Because discipline gives you choices. The person without discipline is controlled by impulses, distractions, cravings, procrastination, and moods. But the disciplined person controls their actions, their priorities, and their focus. Discipline is freedom, not prison. And here's the truth you eventually learn. The days when you show up without motivation become the days you grow the most, because those days build resilience. They build grit. They build strength. Motivation might get you started, but discipline is what takes you to mastery. Discipline is the force that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you are destined to become. 1 hour of intentional focus has more power than an entire day spent drifting from one distraction to another. Most people confuse movement with progress. They stay busy, but they're not productive. They go from notification to notification, scrolling endlessly, reacting to messages, switching between tasks. And at the end of the day, they feel exhausted, but not accomplished. Busy is what keeps people stuck. Intentional focus is what helps people rise. When you take 1 hour and dedicate it with full concentration, everything changes. Your mind sharpens, your creativity deepens, your thoughts become aligned. That hour becomes a sacred space where clarity replaces confusion. You step out of the noise and into purpose. You stop chasing everything and start mastering something. That's the difference. Most people try to juggle 100 things and wonder why they never see progress. But the one who gives focused energy to one meaningful task begins to see real breakthroughs. Intentional focus is a force multiplier. When you cut off distractions, your brain becomes more efficient. You accomplish in 60 minutes what would take most people 5 hours because you are present, engaged, and deliberate. You're not scattering your energy, you're directing it with precision. And that precision is powerful. Just like sunlight scattered does nothing, but sunlight focused through a lens ignites fire. Your mind becomes a flame when you focus. That focused hour also brings you closer to mastery. You refine your work. You strengthen your skill. You deepen your understanding. You take ownership of your growth. Meanwhile, the person who stays busy jumps from task to task, never building depth, never achieving excellence. Excellence requires attention. Excellence requires presence. Excellence requires focus. And when you commit to that one focused hour every day, it begins to stack. 1 hour today, 1 hour tomorrow, 1 hour the next. Those hours add up to discipline, skill, knowledge, and results. Over time, the person who mastered the art of focus leaves behind the person who was lost in busyness. They build momentum, confidence, and clarity. They start producing results that others can't explain because those results were born in quiet, focused moments. So don't underestimate the power of that 1 hour. Protect it like it's the most valuable time of your day because it is. That hour can turn your goals into achievements and your dreams into reality. All it takes is intention and focus. 2 things busy people rarely have, and 2 things focused people never compromise. Investing in yourself daily is not just about growing your skills, it's about transforming who you believe yourself to be. Every time you choose to learn, read, practice, train, study, plan, or work on your personal development, you're telling your subconscious mind, I matter, my future matters, my growth matters. And when you do that consistently, your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying, and you start seeing yourself as someone who is becoming. Identity is built through repeated actions, not wishful thinking. You can't wake up one day and just declare confidence, excellence, or success. You have to live your way into it. When you invest in yourself every single day, even if it's only for an hour, you start changing the way you think. You start changing the way you speak. You start changing the way you respond to challenges. And slowly, those changes build a new version of you. You become the person who gets things done, who honors commitments, who shows up for themselves even when it's inconvenient. Daily investment rewires your self-belief. When you keep your promises to yourself, your trust in yourself grows. You begin to realize you're capable of far more than you thought. You gain confidence because you see evidence of your own effort. You see progress, even if it's small, and that progress fuels your desire to keep going. When you invest in yourself, you stop waiting for permission. You stop seeking approval. You stop comparing your journey to anyone else's because you're too focused on elevating your own. And here's the powerful part. When your identity shifts, your actions shift automatically. You stop forcing discipline, you become disciplined. You stop trying to stay consistent, you become consistent. You stop chasing success, you attract it, because identity shapes behavior. When you see yourself as someone worthy of growth and capable of greatness, you make decisions that align with that belief. Daily investment is a declaration to your future. It's a message to your destiny that you are preparing for it. And the person you become through that process is worth far more than any achievement or reward. Because when you invest in yourself daily, you're not just building a better life, you're becoming a stronger, wiser, more powerful version of yourself. And that identity becomes the foundation for everything you will accomplish. Momentum is the invisible force that takes your small actions and multiplies them into massive results. It's the moment when effort stops feeling like effort, when the work becomes part of your rhythm, when progress begins to accelerate almost on its own. In the beginning, every step feels heavy. Every minute feels slow. You question whether anything is even changing. But the truth is, momentum doesn't show up in the first minute. It shows up because of the first minute. It rewards consistency, not convenience. When you commit to the same meaningful actions day after day, something powerful starts to happen. Your mind becomes sharper, your habits become stronger, your resistance becomes weaker. What used to feel like a struggle becomes second nature, and that shift is momentum. Suddenly you're not pushing the boulder up the hill anymore. Now the boulder is rolling and you're running with it. That's when minutes turn into miracles. That's when results start appearing faster than you ever imagined. Momentum has a compounding effect. One victory makes the next victory easier. One good day makes the next day smoother. 1 hour of focus sets you up for another hour with even more clarity. And soon, you're not battling for progress. You're flowing with it. That's why momentum is so dangerous to your excuses. Once it takes hold, your excuses lose power. Your fears lose strength. Your doubts lose credibility. Because momentum builds confidence, and confidence builds courage. What most people don't realize is that momentum is built by small, repeated actions, not massive one-time efforts. It's built by showing up when you don't feel like it. It's built by taking one more step when you think you're done. It's built by turning minutes into practice, practice into skill, and skill into mastery. And when you live in that rhythm long enough, you start experiencing breakthroughs that feel miraculous. But they're not miracles. They're momentum revealing its rewards. And the greatest gift of momentum is this. Once you have it, life gets easier. Not because the challenges disappear, but because you become stronger, sharper, and more resilient. Momentum gives you energy, focus, and endurance. It turns ordinary minutes into extraordinary outcomes. It turns simple habits into life-changing results. It turns your effort into elevation. And when you harness that power, you stop waiting for miracles because you start creating them. Consistency is one of the most powerful forces you can unleash in your life because it is the foundation of real confidence. Confidence doesn't come from compliments. It doesn't come from hype. It doesn't come from pretending to be something you're not. Confidence comes from evidence. The evidence of showing up, the evidence of doing the work, the evidence of keeping your promises to yourself. When you stay consistent, you accumulate proof of your own capability, and that proof becomes unshakable confidence. Think about it. Every time you take consistent action, you're reinforcing the belief that you can trust yourself. You're saying, I follow through. I do what I say I will do. And that creates a deep internal certainty that nobody can take away from you. You don't need validation because your results validate you. You don't need permission because your habits strengthen you. You don't need to beg for opportunities because your consistency has already made room for them. And here's where it gets powerful. Confidence is magnetic. It attracts opportunity. People want to work with someone who shows up. Investors want to believe in someone who shows results. Leaders want to support someone who demonstrates dedication. Doors open for the person who has a track record of consistency, not the person with occasional flashes of brilliance. Brilliance without consistency is unstable. Consistency without brilliance becomes brilliance over time. Confidence gives you the courage to step into rooms you once avoided. It gives you the conviction to speak, act, try, and pursue with boldness. And when you move boldly, opportunity notices. Your consistency builds your confidence, and your confidence draws the opportunities that change your life. This is the secret most people never understand. Opportunities don't come to the most talented, they come to the most consistent. Talent is a gift. Consistency is a decision. And when you make that decision every single day, you become unstoppable. Your life expands. Your influence grows. Your world opens. Consistency creates confidence. Confidence creates opportunity. And opportunity creates transformation. Your life is shaped not by grand moments, but by the quiet decisions you make every single day. The hour you dedicate, the discipline you build, the focus you maintain, the investment you choose, the momentum you create, and the consistency you honor, these are the forces that change everything. You don't have to transform your whole life overnight. You just have to be faithful with 1 hour. 1 hour of intentional effort. 1 hour of personal growth. 1 hour of becoming who you were designed to be. And if you stay committed to that hour, your future will thank you. Your confidence will grow. Your identity will strengthen. Your opportunities will expand. You will look back months from now and hardly recognize the person you used to be, because the person you are becoming will stand taller, think clearer, and live bolder. This is your moment. Decide today. Give yourself that hour. Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Build it, protect it, honor it, because 1 hour a day can change your life forever, and the only person who has the power to choose it is you.